I guess it's not a good day to be a bad guy. Here's your look at the Diamond Select The Crow Eric Draven Deluxe Action Figure. The Crow is a tale of a young musician, Eric Draven, who along with his fiancée is murdered on the eve of their Halloween wedding. Exactly 1 year after their deaths, Eric is risen from the grave by a mysterious crow to seek out his killers and force them to answer for their crimes. This 7-inch action figure of Eric Draven is based on his appearance in 1994's The Crow and features over 16 points of articulation and character-appropriate accessories. It was designed by Yuri Ming and sculpted by Chris Dahlberg. Before we get a closer look at Eric Draven, the first thing we're going to want to do... It sounds like it's raining outside. That's okay. It can't rain all the time. Before we get a closer look at Eric Draven, we're going to take the tape measure right to the very top of his head. We're going to stop it right there. According to the readouts, Eric Draven stands 7.1 inches in height. Switching that quickly to centimeters, revealing that the figure stands 18.2 centimeters tall. For accessories, I feel the figure does come with a fair share. Let's have a look first at his tombstone. The tombstone, of course, all molded in plastic. As well, it could be said for all the accessories that come included with the figure as well. But the paint that they've done to it does give it a real faux stone look. So you can see it on the back there as well. Now, this has been effectively pulled off by simply just taking the darker plastic, which makes up the majority of the entire tombstone. And then because they've dry brushed the gray over top of it, leaving some spaces and still the black to peek through, it does give you, again, a very effective look and makes it look like real stone. On the top, you have Eric Draven. Down below, it says, "Just whisper my name in your hearts, and I will be there." Really nice detailing to that. The thing about the tombstone, though, is if you look at the bottom of it, it doesn't seem completely leveled. There's a part where it sinks further up, and it's not, like I said, completely leveled. You'll see it more so when you put it down on a surface. As you can see, it sort of just rocks back and forth. I'm not really sure why it's thrown off the way it is. It does look like it's warped, but I don't know how much bending it back into place that I will be able to do. I'll see if I can maybe submerge this in hot water and see if I can then bend this back into place. But it seems a bit strange that, like I said, it's not completely leveled. The thing about the tombstone is that there are 2 holes located along the top. One neat thing about it is he does come included with 2 variations of the crow. The smaller variety, actually let's just put that down for a second and actually have a look at the bird itself. The smaller variety, being the fact that this one doesn't have the wings spread out, is sculpted all in black plastic. It doesn't really look like they've added any additional paint to it, but I think the detailing on it is still pretty good, especially in the head there. But it does have these 2 little pegs. See them on the bottom of its talons? I love saying talons. What you can do is take these little pegs here and just root the bird right on top of the tombstone. Just plug that into place like that. And that looks neat. Would have also been thrilled for the idea of them actually giving a secondary or third bird that actually had it looking like it was pecking into the stone. But I do like the fact that they did include that as an option, especially if you want to display it with the figure. He does come with a secondary version of the crow, which we'll go ahead and pick up right now. Drastically changed, of course, is the fact that it does have the wider wingspan. Again, it's all just molded in black plastic. It doesn't really look like, again, like there's any real paint that's been added to it. If you want to see the difference between the two, let me go ahead and just pull this one from the tombstone so you can see the difference. Yeah, I mean, obviously this one's facing forward. This one does have the wings spread out. This one has its head slightly cocked to the side. In case you're curious, does this bird attach? Well, no, sadly it doesn't. I thought perhaps these little, at the very ends of its talons, little tiny claws, you can see there's a little point sticking out. Well, that's actually just the back of its paw. I thought it would be enough. Did I say paw? I meant claw. Attaching that just to the top there. But it doesn't seem like it's really enough to stay in place. If anything, you're only just lucking out by barely attaching it to the top there. But I guess it does stay in place. Just barely, though. The one thing about this crow that kind of perplexes me is if you look at the back of it, there's a very obvious peg hole on the back of the bird, leading me believing that there should have come something also included with this figure. Now, I've gone back to this packaging, and maybe short of me dropping something on the floor, I don't think it came with any other post or display stand to display with the figure. In fact, the tray itself, let me go ahead and just grab the tray to show you what I'm talking about here. I don't normally show you guys the tray where it comes to include with these figures, but I just want to open this up and show you what would have looked like inside. Of course, Eric Draven would have been right here. His guitar would have been right here. The spread winged version of the crow would have been there. His hand, tombstone, and then, of course, the bird. I don't see any other place where there would have been... I mean, normally it would have been probably taped down here if they include like a display stand, but there doesn't seem to be any other thing with the tray to indicate that a stand would have come included with it. Next, you're probably then immediately thinking, well, if there's a peg hole on the underside of the bird, there must be a peg somewhere on Eric Draven. No, sadly, no. There is no visible peg that I can see on his sleeve, on his shoulder, any place where you would imagine the bird would attach to. I don't see any other place where this bird could go. The only other thing I was able to do is get the arm to bend, grab the bird, and sort of just take your best shot at taking those little claws and attaching in between the fingers. But the plastic is so very soft, it just barely stays in his hand. I sort of ended up really cheating by having the wing, let's go ahead and grab that bird again, having the wing sort of resting against his head. And that's one way to kind of work around it. But you're just basically going to be balancing that onto his finger. There doesn't seem to be any other place where you can put it. Like, obviously, it just doesn't sit there. You would have to kind of lay it really flat against the tail to stay onto his shoulder. There is really, doesn't seem any other place where that peg should really go. Very, very strange. Having a look at the rest of Eric Draven's accessories before we then get down to the figure itself. He comes included with, of course, his guitar. The guitar is decent. This seems to be a black 6-string standard Fender Stratocaster. Of course, the guitar that he has in the movie. He actually has 2 guitars in the movie. Earlier in the movie, I think before he dies, and then the flashback scenes, he's playing, I think, an Ibanez. I think that's how you pronounce that. I could be pronouncing it incorrectly. But the guitar that most people generally recognize with the crow is the standard Fender Stratocaster. Anyways, it does, of course, have a little string to it. Softer plastic, of course. Decently detailed. Sort of seems like there's some fingerprint imperfections on the back. That was left by me. That's all me, unfortunately. But it does have some nice, decent paints. Silver on the end there, silver in the middle, and then silver along the top for the tuning areas of the guitar. Again, a nice little representation of the one that he has in the movie. Now, you can put that, of course, around his shoulder. Just bring that up to the side, stretch it across his head, and you have the guitar draped to the front. Personally, for me, in the sense of displaying this in my own collection, I like to display it from the side or have it from the back. The one thing about it, though, is that the strap design the way it is, it sort of kind of tells you it has to go one way, unless you sort of can heat this up and ply that, make that a little bit more pliable. But I'm probably just going to end up displaying it like that. I think it looks really nice, especially when you've got it against his torso. So those are his accessories, and then short of the one other thing he comes included with, comes of course with a hole straight through his hand. Sort of kind of sad to see that, the hand with the hole in the middle of it. It doesn't have any blood or anything like that, of course it wouldn't, but you can see straight through, there's Eric Draven right behind there. And you can go ahead and just remove the hand. You're going to want to, of course, take this hand off, just wiggle this off, remove it from the peg, like that, and then go ahead and take this hand and replace it in place of that. And you can bend the hand, and you can have them kind of looking straight through it. So I like the fact that they did include that as well. So those are the accessories that come included with Eric Draven. He has technically gripping hands that would have also served to give him some weapons, but under, of course, the circumstances of how he passed away in the film, I can understand why they probably wouldn't have wanted to include accessories when it came to Eric Draven, especially from the gun department end of things. Now getting a closer look at the head sculpt for Eric Draven. I don't think it's a bad likeness, really. Does it bear a strong enough resemblance to the late actor Brandon Lee? I think it does. It does also have a little bit of an almost animated vibe to it. And I don't say that necessarily in a bad way. When it comes to certainly the way they've painted the face, like in the movie, I like that there's these little wear areas where you can see like the flesh coloring of his skin kind of peeking its way out. Sort of around the area of the nose and the area around his lips. The coloring done around the eyes is also a nice touch as well. When you look at specifically like the eye area, it's not just solid black paint, nor should it really be anyways. It's almost like a gradual in this, where it's a little bit more shadowed as it gets further away from the eyes. that little bit of transitioning of color, that transitioning of the black out, really does look quite good on the figure. Got the little sharp points sticking out from the bottom and the top of his eyes, as well as the makeshift smile that he's got there down below. Another thing I really like about this, the paint work, is the area around his lips. Now, it's not a solid black, again, nor should it really be anyways. In the movie, as that wears away, you can see the coloring of his lips underneath it, and so when you're looking at the figure, it's not all solid black. There's just like a little bit of almost a purple tint to those lips. Boy, does that ever look really sharp. Again, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bang-on likeness to Eric Draven, or certainly Brandon Lee, who played the character. But when you look at the very small list of Crow figures we've gotten over the years, notable ones to include would be the McFarlane Movie Maniacs line, and then after that would be the NECA Toys Cult Classics Eric Draven, which I believe we did get 2 of those. I think this is definitely one of the better ones that we've gotten. Not to mention as well that this one does have articulation, where the other ones were a little bit more limited. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. He does also, of course, have the ring there wrapped around his neck. He pulls from the pawn shop. Do I smell gasoline? He does have some nice rips and tears in his shirt, the taped off bandaged area of his torso, around the area of his shirt. One thing about this particular figure, I'm stating I'm sure the obvious, is it does look like you probably can remove the jacket. If I'm looking around to the back of it, it doesn't look like it's necessarily pegged into place. Unfortunately, though, if you are going to attempt to remove the jacket, what you're still going to be left behind is the jacket sleeves. There's really no way around that. Maybe, perhaps, down the road, we may get ourselves an unjacketed version of Eric Draven. Kind of still keeping the same mold they already have sculpted already here. I don't feel like they have to necessarily change anything. Heck, they don't even really need to change the head necessarily. Just go ahead and remove the jacket and give us sleeved arms, and I'd be a very happy camper. The detailing done to the jacket is really quite good. You can see all the little buttons there on the sides. Nice wrinkles on the jacket as well. Even like the belt on the back has been sculpted decently. Not, again, a whole lot of paint's been brought to the plastic, but still pulls off a rather effective looking jacket, right down to the fact he's got the splits down below there as well. He's got the little areas there taped around the thigh section of his pants. You see there's some roping off there as well. And all the way down to his boots, he's got the little flapped top parts of his boots with the open tongue. It's always funny that they call boots or shoes the top part here, the tongue of the shoe. He's got some decent strings, shoe strings, boot strings sculpted in there as well. Kind of really hard to see it because it's pretty much the same plastic color. They didn't color it differently. I guess necessarily they wouldn't have to paint it differently anyways. But the boots look pretty good overall. And yes, there are peg holes on the undersides of his feet. So if you do want to have him like, say for like a walking pose, for example, you would be able to pull that off. Let's have a look at the articulation on the figure. So his head rotates all the way around. I know I probably didn't spend any bit of time talking about his hair, but the hair looks actually pretty good. It would be kind of hard to compare this guy to like a Hot Toys Eric Draven, but I think like the head sculpt proportionately looks better. I really didn't like the expression that they gave the Hot Toys release, and again, I'm not trying to compare one to the other because the Hot Toys release was, 10 times more expensive than this figure right here? But I like the hair. The hair looks a lot better on this figure, I feel. The head, though, going back to the articulation, the head does move up and down. You rock it back and forth. And yeah, you can technically rotate it all the way around. Don't worry. He's already dead. You don't have to worry about that. His arms hinge out. Not quite a full 90-degree angle bend. Kind of just short of that. You can rotate the arms all the way around. He does have a bend at the elbow. You can also rotate the arm back and forth this way. And yes, you can rotate his wrists all the way around. Now, when it comes to his upper torso ball joint, the fact that he does have one is a nice touch. Simply, they could have just put a waist swivel right there, but no, they didn't actually do that. They put a nice ball joint at the top of his torso, like that. As for his legs split out. The jacket, luckily, doesn't limit what you can do with Eric Draven. I'm sure probably you will not consider posing him like this on your own collection, but at least he does have the available means to split his legs. You can also move the legs forward and back, no problems whatsoever. He has a swivel cut on his thigh, maybe about half the way up. He does also have a bend at the knee. You can rotate the lower leg. And when it comes to his boots, those boots hinge back and forth. And you can also ankle pivot. A great looking figure overall. I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Being that Crow is one of my all-time favorite movies, it makes easily, I would think, my top 5 favorite movies of all time. I was definitely on board the idea of getting a new Eric Draven figure. Of all places, Diamond Select. And I don't say all places like I wasn't expecting Diamond Select to release a figure like this, but being that NECA Toys had released one in the past, being that McFarlane Toys had released one in the past, you sort of would have expected either one of those lines to step up again with a new release Eric Draven. But instead, we get Diamond Select releasing it. The end result is a pretty good looking Eric Draven. Does it look close enough to Brandon Lee? I feel it does. It does also have a little bit of a almost animated look to his face. The only thing that's a little problematic is the fact, again, bringing in his tombstone. It doesn't sit very leveled. It's a little shaky back and forth. And again, I wish they could have come up with some other way to display the Crow with Eric Draven. Strange, again, the fact that they would put that peg hole on the back, on the bottom of the Crow, and yet not really give you any available way to display it, whether it being displayed on a stand or being able to display it anywhere on the figure itself. I am really liking this Crow figure from Diamond Select. It's been a while since we've gotten ourselves any Crow figures to speak of. With counting on my hand, I could come up with probably like 4 or 5 instances. There was the movie Maniac line from McFarlane Toys, and then a few throwouts from the folks over at NECA Toys, being the various Cult Classics Hall of Fame, and a rooftop scene that I believe came with Top Dollar. Probably about 3 or 4 releases from NECA Toys. It's been, like I said, years since we've gotten anything, and of course now Diamond Select delivers their version of a Crow with a now fully articulated release, something that the other 2 companies couldn't claim. This one does have pretty good accessories, one of which being the tombstone, as you can see here in final looks. Tombstone is a little on the shaky side. I don't know why the bottom of that base is a little deformed. I'm going to see if I can heat that up, bend it back into place. It comes with a couple of crows, one of which is designed to attach to, of course, the top of the tombstone, which I'm doing it right now. The other crow, I'm not really sure what it's supposed to do. It's got the wings spread out. It almost looks like it should attach somewhere to Eric Draven, and yet I don't see a peg anywhere on the figure. There's a peg hole on the bottom of the bird, but there's no corresponding peg to go along with that. Again, not unless I dropped the stand somewhere, but there doesn't even seem to be a place in the tray where a stand would have originally belonged. Anyways, at least for the time being, I can always sort of just rest the wing against Eric Draven's head and he can kind of hold the bird in his hand. Or if you want to decide for yourself, because you do have at least 2 crows to work from, maybe just leave that other one out and display the other one on top of the tombstone. Like I said, like I've got here in final looks. The figure is pretty good overall. The likeness is close enough to the late actor Brandon Lee. And like I said, his accessories doesn't have a whole lot of accessories. Guns, of course, are the things, the no-nos. You're not going to see those with any of these figure releases. So you probably could find some guns from another Diamond Select release and pack that along with Eric Draven. But for the time being, he does come include with his guitar, and he comes also with the hole through his hand. A nice way to display the figure as well. I'm just thrilled for the fact that we finally get ourselves a fully articulated crow. And again, like the likeness is pretty good. It's a little on the animated side, like it doesn't have the most closest of realism to it, but it's close enough to know exactly who it is. And again, the idea of having a fully articulated crow is very pleasing to this collector. Have you picked up this one for yourself? Let me know down below in the comments section what you guys think of the Crow Deluxe action figure from the folks over at Diamond Select Toys. Certainly, I would be down for the idea, and I hope this isn't a one and we're done, because they've also done a Johnny Depp Jack Sparrow. Hopefully it's not just a case where we're only going to be getting one of each of those characters. I would be certainly open to the idea of getting another Crow release figure without his trench coat, because he looks great with his trench coat, but I would definitely be on board to get another Crow without his jacket on his torso. But let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of this figure. If you're new to this channel, enjoying all the content you're seeing, and Crow is also your #1 favorite movie of all time, we can be friends forever. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you turn on the bell notification. Make sure you come back to this channel on a regular basis, because Monday to Friday, we've got 2 videos popping up a day. 2 videos popping up a day, unheard of. That's what we're doing here on this channel on a regular basis. Lots of stuff coming your way, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.